Hello and welcome. You're watching India Today Global with me, Geeta Mohan. After a brief encounter on the sidelines of United Nations General Assembly, US President Donald Trump is expected to meet Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif today. President Trump is set to hold a private Oval Office meeting with Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. This comes just weeks after Washington and Islamabad signed a new trade agreement signaling steadily improving ties under Trump administration. It will be the first such meeting in 6 years. The talks follow Trump's back-to-back engagements with Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir, including a White House luncheon where Munir even suggested a Nobel Prize for Trump for brokering peace between India and Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. But it also comes at a time when the latest State Department Fiscal Transparency 2025 report has suggested that Pakistan needs parliamentary and civilian oversight in their defense and intelligence spending, which America has a huge role to play when it comes to giving aid and money to Pakistan. How will Islamabad balance the positives and the criticism? The talks also come at a time when India and US ties have been hit by tariffs, and the relations between the two countries are at an all-time low because of the purchase of Russian oil by India. Those are details that are coming in at around 2 a.m. India time. In the wee hours, we will have a meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. It is taking place in Washington, D.C. Remember, the United Nations General Assembly session is taking place in New York, where President Trump was. There was a moment where Prime Minister Modi also, when he attended the UNGA, was in New York, and then there was a bilateral that took place between him and the then US President in Washington, D.C. So for bilateral talks with President Trump, leaders have to go to Washington, D.C. from New York. And like Turkey President and the bilateral meeting that took place just a while ago, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is also in Washington, D.C. and will be meeting with the US President. My colleague Pranay Upadhyay joins me for more on this. Pranay, interesting. At a time when the transparency report is out and seeks more oversight by Pakistan, and this is the United States of America, but Trump has his own interests in Pakistan, and that clearly shows with the kind of meetings that he's been having with Pakistani leadership.
Absolutely, Geeta. If you see President Donald Trump and his approach toward foreign policy, he has its own opinion. You have heard him in his interaction with Turkish President Erdogan, where he said that he doesn't like opinionated people, but he'd certainly like opinionated people like Recep Tayyip Erdogan. So he definitely has different opinion with different people, and especially those who come to meet him. He said all sorts of words, and we have also seen on the sidelines of the UNGA when how Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif held President Donald Trump's hand, and the kind of conversation they had. I think Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was desperately looking for this opportunity, and I think sources tell us that there were a lot of back-channel things happened via Qatar and Saudi Arabia to arrange this meeting. So definitely, Pakistan must be having high hopes as far as this meeting is concerned, and wherein the Fiscal Transparency Report 2025 and many other assessments like these doesn't count, and therefore we have to see, because this is the first meeting of any Pakistani Prime Minister with US President in a gap of 6 years. And also, this is the first meeting of Pakistani Prime Minister after Operation Sindoor. So definitely, we as in India has a lot of interest, and we would be keenly watching what happens there, because we have seen in the past that despite our differences and despite our arguments, the United States have continued the military aid in terms of the F-16 and the continued the military package to Pakistan.
Absolutely. We'll have to see in days to come what happens in the US Congress, and then how it translates into working with Pakistan. Pranay Upadhyay, thank you so much for joining me. Now, the US President was at the United Nations, and now he's demanding an investigation into what he calls 3 sinister events at the UN headquarters that took place and has to do with him, which includes an escalator breaking down, the prompter not working, and an audio problem. First Lady Melania Trump was also on that escalator, so he's describing them as triple sabotage. Here's a report.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood.
Days after attending the United Nations General Assembly, President Donald Trump has ordered an investigation against the technical mishaps he faced during his visit, calling it a triple sabotage.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work.
Trump claimed that a broken escalator, a failed teleprompter, and audio problems were part of a plot to undermine him. Posting on Truth Social, Trump wrote, and I quote, "A real disgrace took place at the United Nations yesterday. Not one, not two, but 3 very sinister events." He accused the UN of deliberately disrupting his speech with technical mishaps. The United Nations, on the other hand, quickly responded to the growing controversy and called the incident technical glitch and human error. UN official countered Trump's allegations against the UN of deliberately cutting off his teleprompter, saying the prompter is managed by the White House, not the UN. While addressing the audio issue claim, the United Nations pointed out that speeches are delivered through headsets at each delegate's seat with simultaneous translations in 6 languages. White House, however, stood by Trump's claims and supported his investigation order. US Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, called the incident unacceptable and backed Trump's demand for an investigation. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt also raised concerns. The controversy adds to Trump's ongoing friction with the UN. During his presidency, he repeatedly questioned US funding to the body and even slashed contributions. With Neha Kumari, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, hundreds of General Services Administration employees in the US were laid off earlier this year. That's officials from the government. They were laid off by Musk as head of DOGE, that's Department of Government Efficiency. Now, after Musk's exit, many have received offers to return. What started as a cost-cutting drive by Trump administration seems to have backfired.
Hundreds of federal employees, earlier sacked by the Department of Government Efficiency or DOGE, once led by US President Donald Trump's then best friend Elon Musk, are now being asked to return to work. A memo obtained by the Associated Press says the General Services Administration has given these employees until the end of the week to accept or decline the offer. Those who agree will report back on October 6. The decision, which follows mounting costs for the GSA, which had to continue paying for office space after DOGE cost-cutting move, was reversed in the wake of the Trump-Musk fallout. The GSA, established in 1940s, manages thousands of federal workplaces and offices. The rehiring is widely seen as an effort following the line of what other agencies have done. Last month, the Internal Revenue Service, the Labor Department, and the National Park Service also recalled employees to duty. What began as a cost-cutting exercise has now backfired, forcing the Trump administration to reverse course on federal job cuts. With Neha Kumari, Bureau Report, India Today.
President Donald Trump has again taken aim at Joe Biden, this time via the White House's newly unveiled Presidential Walk of Fame outside the West Wing. The portrait of Biden was replaced with an image of an auto pen, the device he has used to sign official documents, including pardons. A video posted on X shows past presidents' portraits, but when the camera pans to Biden, only the auto pen image appears, signing his name. The clip quickly went viral on social media, highlighting the unusual display. Trump has repeatedly attacked Joe Biden's reliance on the auto pen, claiming the former president is unaware of what he signs. He and other Republicans have also questioned Joe Biden's mental fitness in office, arguing that thousands of pardons may be invalid. The United States physics team has made history at the 2025 International Physics Olympiad in Paris, sweeping all 5 gold medals for the first time. The winning team, Agastya Goel, Alan Lee, Joshua Wong, Fyodor Yevtushenko and Brian Zhang, delivered the nation's strongest performance in the competition's history. Days later, the young champions were honored at the White House, where US President Donald Trump congratulated them personally. Among the standout winners is 17-year-old Agastya Goel. The Indian origin prodigy is the son of Stanford professor Ashish Goel, already a 2-time gold medalist at the International Olympiad in informatics. Agastya ranked 4th globally in 2024 after scoring 438.97 out of 600, while China's Kang Yang Zhao secured a perfect score. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas addressed the United Nations General Assembly virtually, thanking Western nations that have officially recognized Palestine as a state. In his pre-recorded speech, Abbas urged more countries to extend recognition and voiced sorrow over the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza. He also expressed gratitude to people worldwide protesting in solidarity with Palestine. Abbas spoke via video after US denied him a visa to attend in person the UNGA. His remarks come just a day before Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's scheduled address.
We would like to thank France, the UK, Canada, Australia, Belgium, Portugal, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, San Marino, Andorra, and Denmark for their recognition of the State of Palestine. We would like to thank all 149 states which had previously recognized the State of Palestine. Our people will not forget this noble position.
For decades, Greenland's women lived with a dark secret, a population control policy imposed without their consent. Now, Denmark's Prime Minister has apologized for what she calls one of the country's darkest chapters. Here's the full story.
For decades, Greenlandic women were subjected to a hidden and disturbing policy imposed by Denmark. A secret population control program that violated their rights, their bodies, and their futures. Between 1966 and 1991, thousands of women and girls, some as young as 12, were fitted with intrauterine devices without their knowledge or consent. These devices, intended for adult women, were forced upon minors, causing long-term health issues, including severe infections, and for many, the inability to have children even after the devices were removed. By the end of 1970 alone, more than 4,000 women had been affected, roughly every second Greenlandic-born woman of childbearing age. And yet for years, the world knew little of this violation. This was not merely a failure of healthcare, it was a systematic abuse, a secret policy that treated Greenland's women as tools in a population experiment hidden from public scrutiny. It wasn't just the physical harm. The program inflicted deep psychological scars, eroding trust between Greenland and its former colonial power. For decades, Denmark maintained control over Greenland's healthcare system, even after the island was given authority over its own administration in 1991. The scars of this secret program linger in families, in communities, and in the very fabric of Greenlandic society. This week, in a historic act of accountability, Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, publicly acknowledged the wrongs of this policy and offered an official apology in person to the victims. The apology, delivered in Greenland's capital of Nuuk, was just about the past. Frederiksen emphasized that acknowledging these dark chapters is essential to building a fairer, more equal relationship between Denmark and Greenland today and for the future.
I dag siger vi og siger jeg undskyld til jer, det er gået ud over. Og de grimme sider skal ikke gemmes væk. Tværtimod. For vores fortid er vi fælles om, og det er vi på godt og ondt. Og jeg tror ikke på, at vi kan få det ligeværdige og ordentlige forhold til hinanden, som mange af os ønsker, hvis ikke vi også tør åbne selv de mørkeste kapitler. Og derfor handler den undskyldning, som jeg giver i dag, ikke kun om fortiden. Den handler også om vores nutid, og den handler om vores fremtid.
The apology comes as part of Denmark's ongoing efforts to repair ties with Greenland, especially in the wake of heightened geopolitical attention on the resource-rich Arctic region. It serves as a reminder that justice for the victims of this secret population control policy is not just a matter of history. It is a moral imperative, a step towards healing, a commitment to never repeat such abuses. With Jyoti Shukla, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Today on Statecraft, we talk about an imminent danger in India's backyard. This time it is on the eastern front, Chittagong port in Bangladesh, which is being used by America, China, Russia, and could become a major threat for India. The larger episode and a deeper analysis can be watched on India Today Global's YouTube channel. But for now, here's an excerpt. Chittagong Port, Bangladesh's largest maritime hub. Once a quiet gateway for trade, today it is the epicenter of strategic maneuvering in the Bay of Bengal. US transport aircraft, Chinese submarines and Russian warships are converging here, turning a commercial port into a chessboard of global power. For India, every landing, every dock, every exercise is a test of its influence, its security, and its readiness to protect its eastern frontier. The port's location is what makes it so critical. Just a few hundred kilometers from India's northeastern states and the Siliguri corridor, the narrow lifeline known as the Chicken's Neck connecting mainland India to its 7 northeastern states, called the Seven Sisters. Chittagong sits at a vantage point over vital shipping lanes, energy transit routes, and maritime checkpoints. Whoever controls influence here can monitor India, track its trade, and threaten its strategic corridors. The question India must now answer is urgent. With Chittagong becoming a hub for foreign powers, how can India protect its chicken's neck and secure its eastern lifeline? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. For decades, India has looked eastward with a sense of familiarity, seeing Bangladesh as a friendly neighbor, a partner in trade, culture, and water sharing. But after the fall of the Hasina government, that perception is under threat. Chittagong, Bangladesh's largest port and gateway to the Bay of Bengal, is rapidly becoming a chessboard for global players. The United States, China, and Russia are maneuvering in ways that directly affect India's security, its trade, and the stability of its eastern frontiers. Chittagong is not just a port, it is a strategic fulcrum. Located close to India's sensitive northeast and the Siliguri corridor, the so-called Chicken's Neck, connecting mainland India to its 7 northeastern states, the city is a vantage point over vital shipping lanes, energy transit routes, and maritime corridors. Whoever controls influence here can monitor naval traffic, project power across the Bay of Bengal, and shape the security environment in India's eastern backyard. In recent months, the US has been steadily increasing its footprint in Bangladesh. C-130J Super Hercules aircraft from the US Air Force have been flying into Chittagong, joining Bangladesh and Sri Lankan forces in Pacific Angel multinational exercise framed as humanitarian aid and disaster response. On the surface, it sounds benign. Beneath that veneer, it is a signal. Washington is positioning itself strategically in India's neighborhood, and India cannot ignore it. China's presence complicates matters further. On the 12th of October 2024, Chinese naval training ship Chittagong and amphibious dock landing ship Jingangshan docked in Chittagong. This was the first foreign fleet to visit Bangladesh under the interim government led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus. China's ambassador, Yao Wen, was quick to stress that political shifts in Dhaka would not affect Beijing's growing influence. For India, the message is stark. China is building infrastructure, ties, and presence right on its doorstep. And then comes Russia. In April 2025, 3 Russian warships, Admiral Tributs, Admiral Panteliev, and the tanker Pechenga docked at Chittagong port, following a high-level visit to Moscow by Bangladesh's Army Chief, General Asim Shafiuddin Ahmed. Officially, these were friendly port calls. Unofficially, they signaled Dhaka's intent to diversify its military relationships, balancing China and the US. While Russia has historically been a strategic partner for India, its growing naval presence in Bangladesh creates a new layer of complexity. Why should India be particularly concerned? The geography is unforgiving. Chittagong sits less than 200 kilometers from India's northeastern states and near the Siliguri corridor. In times of tension, influence over Chittagong could threaten India's critical lines of communication. The city is also adjacent to Myanmar, where insurgencies and refugee flows already strain India's borders. Add foreign militarization and the stakes rise exponentially. India must leverage its influence, fortify its eastern defenses, and engage diplomatically to ensure that Chittagong remains a partner, not a pawn. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Today Global. Do stay tuned to India Today for all the latest news and updates. Goodbye and take care.